All right, everyone, welcome this morning. Before we get started, just a couple of announcements. Pro Football Focus put out their National Team of the Week this morning, and Blue Raiders had a couple guys in Omari Kelly and Simon Wilson, so congrats to those guys. We do have a kickoff time now for Memphis. That'll be at 6:30, and it'll be on ESPNU. So to get started this week, the Blue Raiders are at home facing Duke. It'll be a 3 o'clock start on ESPNU. It's also homecoming, and then on Friday night we'll have our Hall of Fame. So to get things started, I'd like to bring up the head coach, Derek Mason, who will have opening comment and then answer all your questions. And for those guys on Zoom, just remember to raise your hand and we'll get to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's Duke week. Our football team's coming off a tough loss to Western Kentucky. And, this football team knows and understands what that game was. We got a chance to catalog it, look at it, evaluate it, and then put it to bed. I think there are a lot of lessons to be learned from games like this. And, moving forward, as this team has had to deal with some early attrition, the idea is this: make sure, man, that you put your guys in the best possible position and function in a way, man, that gives you a chance to be competitive, as well as, play to the best of your ability. And I think this football team has a lot of resilience. For us, everybody has obstacles and hurdles that they have to overcome. Ours have come a little earlier than most. And so with that, this group is sort of locked into the simple fact that this week is about to get better. There's a lot to get better in. A lot of things that we saw that are correctable. But as we go into this Duke week, man, we're facing a 3-0 football team that's well coached. Manny Diaz, good friend of mine, is a really good coach, former MTSU assistant, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and has always had a great football mind. For me, just watching the film and watching the tape, offensively with Malik Murphy, like their quarterback, running this spread system, with a really good running back and star, and some, well complemented receivers outside, and they're doing some really good things in terms of being able to push the ball down the field, and they're being productive. They got a strong run game to balance what they do in the pass game, and I think Malik has kept them on schedule. He's a dual threat quarterback, but really likes to play from the pocket. And it's been impressive just to watch these guys on defense as well. I take a look right now, at Jonathan Packey and what he's done, like with that defense right now. You look at him, 14.5 a game, and they play extremely well. Jalen Stinson, and who I recruited when I was at Auburn, he's an Auburn High kid, extremely productive. Moore back there as the other safety. Those guys are the two catalysts. And then, you get a chance to look at Alex Howard and what he's done in terms of the TFL's been very productive. So we're talking about a well-balanced football team and offense, defense, and special teams. And you don't get to 3-0 by accident. And I think, when you look at their ball games, they've won ball games, their last two ball games coming from behind. They're a tough-minded team. They play, a tough style of football. So it's going to challenge every part of who we are. So Blue Raiders have a great challenge this week as we look to play at home with a 3 p.m. kickoff. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Coach, you have a player on your offense, Hayes Sutton, that was in that Duke program last year, albeit under a different staff. How much can you lean on guys like that have familiarity with maybe some of the guys on that team, as you're prepping for a week like this?
You know what? Haven't dug into that with Hayes yet. Talked to him a little bit about it yesterday. Just his time and experience, and we've talked about it in our culture groups. But I think Hayes is an experienced player who we were waiting to get healthy. He's finally back and healthy, and so hopefully what we get a chance to see, from him, is some of the flashes that he showed, because he was injured at Duke, but obviously was an all-conference performer, in the Ivies, and so. To get another weapon back for us will be huge. But he's played against these guys. He's practiced against these guys. He knows Jalen. He knows more. So it'll be interesting what tips he gives our guys this week. But all you have to do is watch the tape. Okay, man. This is an adequate secondary, and who challenges every part of what you do. They hit, and they find ways to be to create chaos on the back end with some of their disguises. But more than anything else, They're going to be a challenge for our guys, and our guys will take the challenge.
You mentioned the attrition this team is going through early on in the season. Is that something you just sort of chalk up to some bad injury luck early, or is there anything that y'all can change to maybe change those outcomes, as far as injuries go?
Yeah, I think, the types of injuries that we've seen are just, that's more, luck of the draw. Like sometimes, you're going to have injuries in the season. We've just been hit earlier on both sides of the ball, and that's put people into action early, and that's really changed more so defensively how we've had to call the games, like a little bit. So I think with that, you try to make sure that you can protect and move the stress around, like to keep it off, players, because if it's always on one player, then it becomes problematic. But I think as we've gone through this, this week is a new week. It provides like some different challenges. We know who's available and who's not available, right? As do you every week. But I think you start the beginning of the week just now with the assumption, okay, that some guys aren't going to be available. Here's where we go. This is what we do. And you adapt it earlier so that, it's not as close a run to game time. So, I like what I have available to me this week, in terms of our football team. And we have to continue to make sure we protect our quarterback and be productive offensively, do some things on special teams, and make sure defensively, man, that we can deploy schemes that give us a chance and an advantage.
Oh, yeah, Coach, you're facing a talented QB and receiver duo in Malik Murphy and Jordan Moore, but that Duke offense, as you said, very solid unit. What do you see from those guys that can give your defense some trouble?
Yeah, I think, you have to talk about balance, right? And they've got balance. When you look at Starr and what he's doing at the tailback position, he's balanced with run and catches, which is really good. And I think anytime you got a good running back, that can keep you balanced in the run game, it's going to provide one-on-one opportunities outside, right? So I think last week I think I saw Keyshawn Brown caught 11 passes. He wasn't even on the radar, and then last week he comes up with 11 catches. So, it lets you know that they have a talented group of guys. It's anybody's time. I think we've got a talented group of guys too, and I think it's anybody's time there. So, we're going to have to meet challenges with challenges of our own, and I think for us that's the big deal. We're going to have to challenge a little more. And on the defensive side, and make sure that we can do some things offensively to stay on schedule, because if we do, I think we're pretty productive.
Coach, obviously you guys are banged up on both offense and defense, but how far along do you think those guys are progressing as they try to get back into the season, and do you think anyone can come back maybe this week?
We'll see. It's always a sprint till Saturday. I think, like for me right now, what I know and understand is our coordinators have to deploy schemes, man, that put the guys that are available on the roster, at a decided advantage, right? So that's reps, that's the idea of looks, that's the idea of execution. For me, here's what I know. I came into this season looking at this football team differently, because it wasn't a rebuild, because you had a lot of older guys. You had some older guys, right? Well, you get hit with some early attrition, and it starts to look a little different because you don't look as old. So now, you're playing younger guys, and as you start to play younger guys, man, the athleticism is good, but they're seeing things for the first time. And when you see it for the first time, it's always fast. It's like Neo in the Matrix, right? Mr. Anderson is hitting you versus you hitting him. And so, we've got to slow it down for them so these guys can start to be really productive. And that's really what I see with the attrition. It just allows guys to have a next up mentality, but you have to make it so guys aren't thinking, man, they just go play the game of football.
Derek, talk about production. Nick had the second most yards ever in a game. Omari had the second most yards ever by a receiver in 110 years here.
Yeah.
Does that bode well for what you want to see and continue to spread it around to other people like Holden and those playmakers?
Yeah, the product of what happened on Saturday for those guys is the accumulation of the work that was done. I pointed to our guys to let them know you won't find a harder working guy than Nick Vadiato. Okay, man. Same thing with Amari. Okay, in that receiver room. I think those guys work extremely hard, but the connection, these guys hadn't played together before. So as you work hard, You bring like every day, man. We talk about maximizing the work. I think they maximize the work, right? And I think the product is a pure sort of conclusion of the process. So like for these guys, it doesn't surprise me, nor do I think that that's the last time we're going to see that, right? I just think this group is starting to get to the best parts of what it could do, and we're not even doing it well. I mean, that's the scary thing right now, man. We're not doing it well. We're not doing it well because you want balance, run the pass. You're not doing it well because you want more opportunities, for your offense. We're not doing it well because we need to have a decided advantage in special teams where we give them great field position. We haven't done that. They had to make their own so far. So I think, the best is yet to come. The thing that we have to do is continue to be process-driven versus outcome-driven, because when the process is good, man, you start to see the fruition of the work.
And with that in mind,
Right.
You hit on it Saturday night after the game. When you look at red zone chances and maximizing opportunities there, does that just come back to repeating and rinse and repeat and do it again?
Yeah, it's funny that you say rinse and repeat. Mario will tell you, I had a slide up there, man, and I said, run fast, hit hard, man, and really be efficient, and then rinse and repeat, because I think like that's really what football is, right? I mean, it's really sustainable execution. Okay, down there, we get to the one. Okay, and guys were celebrating as we got to the one, but it didn't get in the end zone. So, like for us, that's a lesson learned. Okay, let's make sure, man, finish the job. All right, there's a lot of jobs that were left unfinished, like on Saturday, that I think motivate us, man, to be better as we get ready to hit a Tuesday practice. And I think like that's it. Okay, we have to be better in every conceivable way, and we have to make sure that we minimize like the margins. Right, we have to shrink like what it is that we're doing so that we can play efficient. And some of those plays came back to us, the strain. Like I'll be honest, if you talk to Amari, you talk to everybody, in the room, they'll tell you strain. We have to strain harder. 4 quarters, 60 minutes every play, and if you do that, I think what those little things, those details and inches that you're looking for at the 1 or at the 6-inch line, they show up.
You're going up against a familiar SEC coach in Manny Diaz.
Yeah.
What's it like going up against him?
Hey, man, Manny's special. He's smart. We've been together to talk football before. I think having gone against him when he was at Penn State, obviously, I was at Auburn at the time. You just value, guys who you've seen, go through the process of what it takes to elevate in the world of coaching. It's not easy. And at the end of the day, he's doing a great job at Duke, leading that program like in its first year. Because, a lot of times, when you leave, the cupboards aren't what everybody thinks. But for him, and he's done a great job of stewarding, exactly what he wants to do with that program. So, like, hats off. I look forward to seeing Manny before the game, but we got a game to play. So, we'll exchange pleasantries before and after.
Anytime you face a Manny Diaz defense, it's going to be tough, disciplined, and versatile. What's the focus of the offensive line have to be this week to limit down on the holding and false start penalties, and just to not take any plays off against a defense like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think our guys ever take any plays off up front on the offensive line. That's not really their mentality. I think the biggest thing that our guys have to, guard against, like everybody else, is the fatigue part of it. As we go through the process of, playing ball games, man, we have I think a nice rotation, because I think there's some guys in there that need to be rotated through, right? Because those guys weren't starters at the beginning of the year. So I think it's by committee, okay, like what we have to do at times. And, we've seen some repeat offenders, show up, and it's when they're fatigued. So, like for us, we have to be smarter. We have to be a little better. We have to play with a little more discipline. And, again, that's controlling the margins. We can be better like that way. Part of it's on us as coaches and knowing what that rotation limit should be and where guys are in series. And then the other piece is guys have to have self-discipline, right? I mean, that's what it requires, like at times in critical situations, because at halftime we had 2 penalties. Okay, by the end of the game we had 7. So again, I think that leads more to, where we were in the ball game and what started to happen to guys as guys were battling. So we'll be better, that's for sure. Thank you.
All right, everyone, we've heard a lot about him today, but our student athlete here for us this week is wide receiver Omari Kelly.
How y'all doing today?
Good. But you?
Good.
Omari, what was your reaction to get named to the Pro Football Focus's Team of the Week after the game you had this past weekend?
It was a big accomplishment, something that I really didn't expect would come out of the game. I just wanted to take the game one play at a time and just try to do everything I can to make sure I'm helping putting everybody else in a good position. So it's a good feeling.
Your quarterback, Nick, pointed out how so many guys are opening up opportunities for others, sort of in that skill group on offense, whether it's, Holden or Miles or you opening up opportunities for others. How do you all sort of complement each other sort of as a group in the passing game right now?
Everybody just has their own style of play. Like, obviously, you could probably see that I've got speed, Holden, catches literally everything, and we have other receivers and players that can also make plays with their own abilities. So I feel like having that in this kind of offense is a very good thing.
How's a guy like Cameron Lacey, redshirt freshman, sort of getting his first opportunity, sort of grown as the season's progressed so far?
He's one of the guys I've been telling, since I got here, like, you got something special. So just make sure you just attack every day, stay focused as often as you can, and try to take advantage of every opportunity you get. And I think it's going to turn out really good for him.
Omari, you said after the game Saturday night that you felt a special connection with Nick from the first time you guys went on the field. Can you elaborate on how that was built over the summer?
Mainly just hanging out outside of football. I try to hang out with as many of my teammates as I can and try to build a connection with all of them. So I feel like me and Nick is a little bit different, because he's a quarterback and I'm a receiver. So, I feel like we just naturally became closer because we're on the same side of the ball.
You and Holden are kind of the old guys in the receiver room with the most experience. And do you feel a responsibility to kind of help bring younger guys along as you go through the season?
I wouldn't really say it's a responsibility because I feel like it's being expressed to them enough that they know that they have to pull their own. And like Nick said in the locker room after the game, we're not here to babysit. So with them having to pull their own weight, I feel like they understand that.
You, Nick, obviously have football in common. What were some other things y'all discovered y'all had in common off the field as y'all sort of got to know each other hanging out?
We're both kind of goofy, like outside of football, and we're never the people to take something too serious or like, we always know when to share a good laugh. So I feel like that's the biggest thing.
What do y'all do when you're not at the practice facility? Just what are y'all doing when you're hanging out, I guess, outside of football?
Normally just chilling, watching football or just having a regular conversation.
Omari, you had a career game last week. How do you continue this success going forward?
Just keep stacking days. Thank you.
All right, everyone, that concludes this week's press conference. Remember, we'll see you here next week, same time at 10:30 as the Blue Raiders prepare for Memphis. Thank you.